had 3 of these. I don't know where they all went.
Or what went?
This little plastic foot that goes on it. I think one went in the box to FMS and never returned.
Yeah, you said that on Monday. That's when we were talking about getting a new one. You know, we already had this exact
I
conversation.
brought in my metal one as a swap. Okay, so. Oh, I know. Here, I'm going to put my microphones over here. So what's funny is when these, when this workload kicks up, you can hear a point where the system beeps in kind of pain. We got to put the mics right on the CPU so you can hear it.
What's up, Frankie? So you're running a Pi computation to try to stress. To actually stress, not Yoda stress this thing.
Yeah, so initially this is working the memory. I think this test is like 64 gig in size.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm talking to your mic. So you're going to see temperatures up here start to pick up eventually. But
that might not be able to see the test and the temps.
Okay, so now it starts picking up across the board, and I think it's when it goes over like 94C, the system starts to peak and ramp itself up.
A beeping system's not a happy system, is it?
Most of the time, no.
We got a couple coming up on 85, 80, 85.
It's right at the end of the test where the thing starts to really peak up. And right now, this is on the stock air cooler build bag. It's just like first.
So you can start to hear the fans kick on. The system would probably be happier if we had the side panel on it. No?
Do we have... Where the shit did the tray of CPUs go?
Did it finish?
Yeah, it finished.
Well, that's not good enough to melt the CPU.
Well, I can kick it off again. It's been sitting idle for a bit. Oh, shit. Whoopsies. If you grabbed a spare EPYC CPU... Well, if you look at this thing, the footprint of the CPU... The footprint of the CPU is roughly this entire heatsink minus the edging. And right here, there's no heatsink underneath this fan. So most of the heat is getting drawn up on this side of the heatsink, so the guys that are on that side are going to be warmer.
And when we go to this big liquid plate that's next to it, you should get much better coverage.
Much more
on the
better,
CPU.
yes.
Full coverage for sure. Discount double check, I'm not sure. That'll be optional.
Let's see. How do you get started learning about cooling calculations and practices? I'm not really. So
That sounds like
we're
an
not really
engineering.
trying to make it scientific beyond the fact of this heatsink is really small. It's designed for like 150 TDP CPU, and we have a 350 TDP CPU on it. So, I mean, at face value, it's really a pick a pick a heatsink that's going to work for the CPU that you have. But on the upper end, you're going to run into situations where some CPUs are designed for, or some heatsinks are designed for burst workloads versus sustained heavy workloads. So we're just running this again. I mean, you're going to see red numbers again in the sensors area. Nothing too crazy for this, but like it's end up throttling its cores as it reaches. So the downside of higher temperatures in these CPUs is you move out of your burst frequency, so you drop down to baseline. If you can maintain burst longer, it's better.
That was your beep, but none of the chiplets are over 85.
So dissipating heat gradually is pretty easy. It's easier to disperse more heat over a larger surface area, and the water cooler that we have over there has a fairly substantial heatsink. So the heatsink on it is at least 5 or 6 times the size of the air-cooled heatsink. So there's more surface area to disperse the heat.
So we did pop over 90. That was enough to get the beep, not 95, I guess.
Yeah. I think you need to talk more because people have been leaving.
Or what?
People have been leaving. We're at 10. It started off at like 80 when it was more exciting. So I think we should get into taking this thing apart.
Go.
Okay. Well, you can. I'm gonna need this probably, or at least move it out of the way. Every upgrade process starts first with turning the system off. And so, brand new heatsink to us. I kept the thing plugged in for a while. I'm moving the liquid around. I'm just confirming there's no leaks because it makes me very sad if there's a leak when the system when it got
Only
fired
when it's
up
on.
here. What?
You can get it wet if it's not on.
Jordan says that you can put a motherboard into a dishwasher.
Yes, you can get it wet without it being on. No problem.
I still think you're going to have some corrosion and rust. Okay, I think it's off now, so kill power, remove power, and this is the heatsink setup that we're going for. So stock cooler, really small. This guy, what's fun is it has almost a 1/4 inch of copper for its heat spreader plate. So very substantial. Nice dispersive liquid on the top.
Bring that radiator down more into the...
Stuck.
Yeah.
So very large radiator. What's cool is they have a dual proc setup as well that includes 2 radiators. And in this setup, we're going to be removing the fans to make a little more space in here. So just getting this stock heatsink off.
This does feel a bit unnatural to me, to be honest.
What?
Putting this liquid radiator loop in.
No, I mean, we are going to be zip tying in place to make it feel better.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not using duct tape, honestly. So we're going to remove the stock tie-in heatsink.
What's fun is this, it's not that the heatsink is bad, it's just designed for a smaller CPU.
Yeah.
And it's from the same vendor. So Dynatron makes a gigantic range of CPU heatsink offerings. This one is just designed for, I think, 150 TDP CPU. We happen to be running a 350 watt TDP CPU.
And so in the review of this, if you look at it on the website, it's like the ultimate workstation review, a 96 core Genoa X. So if you want to see the performance that we got out of the system, it's all documented there. And then Jordan did a little bit of work showing the thermal performance of the
Yes,
of the
temperatures
CPU.
versus clock speed.
Right.
Which,
So it'll be interesting once we get this installed to kind of revisit that and maybe do a dedicated piece on this liquid cooler showing the impact.
yeah, we've seen liquid have a huge impact on the GPU side. I mean, Lenovo's, I think it's the SR670 V2. They have an air-cooled and a water-cooled version, and a big part of it was it's able to sustain higher performance levels through all of the, or higher clock speeds through all of its higher temperature workloads.
Right. If that doesn't come loose, just pull harder. The
At least-
liquid cooling is about getting the heat off of the CPU
Yeah, so this one,
onto the heatsink. And the challenge is if the heatsink can't dissipate the heat fast enough, the CPU will throttle a little bit to deal with the thermals. So if it can't get rid of the heat, it'll have to slow down to deal with it. And that's a challenge. And so what's going to happen with this plate that we're putting in is the coverage is going to be much better on the CPU. As Kevin Clinton does a little cleanup in aisle 6. The funny thing is we had that call with Noctua this week, and I'm like, he's like, I'll send you some of our wipes for CPUs. And like, we normally just use a Kleenex, and the guy's like, no, you're joking. No, literally, we use a paper towel from the bathroom.
well, considering the amount of thermal paste we have to remove from these things, I'm wondering how many of his wipes we'll need for a single enterprise CPU.
Maybe a couple, and then you can also use the wipes for in the bathroom if you have
I think the alcohol in those would make them burn.
well, can't burn any worse than the hot sauce that you eat.
Possibly.
So anyway,
Look at this
just
one.
because we have a ton,
Factory applied.
just because we've got a ton of air, doesn't mean that there's enough air movement and just the thermal, the physics of the ability of the thermal or the heatsink to distribute the heat off the CPU. So as you take a look at this plate that Kevin's got here coming in, there's a nice goopity, I was going to call it a rectangle, but it's
I just realized I should probably get a picture of this thing before it goes on.
yeah, get a nice clean before.
It should a little side profile, I like it.
But there's a nice glob of thermal paste there. Kevin's going to go get his camera for the review that we've got to write. And then we'll be able to...
I wonder if we could get a vendor to give us a thermal paste silk screen, so like we could always get that shape applied on it. Yes. Yeah, this is the type of thing where I don't really want to have to take it off for,
No, you might as well get photos while it's clean before we soil it.
well, the headed. I don't like doing more work on platforms of taking heat sinks on and off than I have to. So
Also, get... All right.
what do you think?
I saw that cable stuck in between. I was just making sure that it wasn't already plugged in or anything silly.
No, it just feels like it's plugged in. This one got trapped up in the front. Oh my god. No.
What have you done? You got it. How'd you get it stuck in there?
They're going at all angles, and the thing just got wedged, and then
We've made it 4 minutes into this, and we've already run into our first problem with the cable being stuck in the front backplane of the server. Fantastic.
it's stuck right by the NVMe
Oh,
bay.
come on. Are you serious?
It's wedged into part of the grill.
How the fuck did you get it in there?
It just fell.
No, it didn't. It couldn't just fall.
Okay.
The stuff
There
that
we go.
goes on in here is
All right.
amazing.
Anyways, those are coming off. What are they? Our precision impact. Just make sure that thing doesn't flop down and nail part of the motherboard. Yeah, for a normal setup, you'd leave these fans on. It's just that in our case, we have some very large case fans that'll be sitting right in front of this thing. So we're not really hard pressed for airflow. Although I probably should have done this on a thing that's not that system. God.
Oh my gosh, you got it stuck again.
I'll put it back in the frame. I'm just removing screws and something that, if the screws fall out, does not drop into the motherboard to be seen never again until boot.
Yeah, that's always fun when you stand the server back up on its feet and you hear the clinky clack of the screws falling about. Question on the GPU is we've got the RTX A6000 in there at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I don't hear any loose parts.
All right, so Kevin has removed the fans.
These are some pretty nice fans, nice sharp blades. Normally, I would say, is there...
Set it back down again somewhere, would you? Yeah.
Yes, let's use the worst camera on earth to
It's the only
take
one I
these
have
pictures.
free.
What?
It's the only one I have free.
You can just use the DSLR. Okay. I'm assuming there's not really a front and a rear for this thing.
For the plate?
Yeah. Yeah, my idea for where this thing can live with least impact is probably like right in there.
You may want to jam it all the way to the left, though, just to give the GPU a little more airflow.
Well, the GPU's airflow is this way.
Well, I know, but if that radiator's in the way,
Well, there's still air passing through the radiator, but I just need to see how much space. Jesus. Must feel like I should have taken the GPU out first.
we do have, regarding the power this system consumes, we
I don't think
have a, we have, wait, would you stop talking? Regarding the power this system consumes, we've got power detail in the review. So if you look at storagereview.com and look at the Ultimate Workstation review, we've got power data in there. Oh, I didn't know you were doing that already.
I think I'm doing it at least. I like to get some of these guys just cinched up a bit so it's not wobbling. And then I go down for my torque pattern. Any questions or blasphemy? I think you said nice cans, but there's also fans. I don't think that's on. Ah, there we go. Okay. For what is using this PC? It sounds like Yoda?
We've been using this for testing GPUs, little AI work, all sorts of fun stuff.
The click makes me feel safe. Versus the righty-tighty, righty-loosey.
Question on the PSU. What? It's a tie-in.
No,
PSU.
it's FSP. It's a
Well, it's a tie-in build, but they include a.
It's a 2,000 watt model that FSP has. A lot of the tie-in workstations, they'll leverage more off-the-shelf parts for the components. Well, they do their own in-house motherboards, but power supplies on the desktop side, it's kind of like if they ain't broke, don't fix it.
This is the RTX A6000, not the Ada. That would be the RTX 6000 Ada. It's not confusing at all.
And thankfully, we have enough room here that wiring to other devices shouldn't be an issue. If you want to send thoughts and prayers and if the system will turn on without sparking, send them now. We didn't drop any screws, right?
I'm sure you did. The question is how many?
Okay, I should have 6. There's only 2 that are unaccounted for, but I think some fell on the floor.
You don't have to wait for me. I'm just
Magic smoke time.
tool time.
Oh, didn't turn on. What the fuck? Oh yeah, there's a ton of airflow to that radiator, so it's turning on.
It booted. And not even in the sense of throwing up.
Yeah, so the set up like a server motherboard, there's IPMI out, which is VGA, and then once the system kind of gets past its initial boot stage, it starts piping to the graphics card, which will do the big monitor that's not in view right now, but we'll pan it back into view for the benchmarks.
The fans do go burr. The question is, will the fans go burr less with this?
So one fun problem this presents.
Wait a minute. I just had a great joke. Do they burr less, but not burlesque? They're not going to be in scantily clad, like lingerie and nose rings.
That I'm not sure, but what's funny is before when it would peak in temperature, it would ramp up the CPU fan. We'll probably have to set something where it's keeping the... Fuck, where's the... Where it keeps the CPU fan full speed all the time, so it's not lowering the what it thinks to be fan speed, it's actually the pump speed.
BMC did pick up its IP address. Somebody was asking about how fast for that to take place.
Those usually go pretty well. I mean, once it's powered on, even if it shuts down, it has sideband management. This thing, since we were trying to be most careful, we had the thing unplugged. And in a bit, you can just pan back to the big monitor. Most excited to see if this thing's...
Thanks for the new follows, friends. Appreciate it. If you want to know about the A6000 GPU and the new RTX 6000 Ada, we've got a full review. We break down pricing, we break down performance per watt. So that review's on the website, storagereview.com. Search for A6000 review or Ada review or something, but it's pinned to the homepage. So for anyone with questions on the latest workstation GPUs and how well they perform and the differences, that is your Rosetta Stone. And while we're here and while we're waiting for this to boot and get ready, we do have a Discord, discord.gg/storage review. You can use that for any questions we don't get to today. You
This
can
moved into the next
use
stage.
that-
Press
What?
delete.
If it does what?
If it does something, press delete.
If it does something, press delete. Kevin left me in charge. Discord.gg/storage review is the home of our Discord. We've got 2,750 members there, all talking about tech, sloths, cars, home lab, pets, taxes, and that's where we're giving away 2 of these guys. That is the Dell PowerEdge R560. And that
T560, it's a tower.
T560. We're giving away 2 of those $15,000 configs. We're doing that on our Discord, and there are 4 days left to enter that contest. So do not snooze and lose. Get in the Discord and enter that contest for those Dell servers. So yes, absolutely check out the Discord and check out storagereview.com for all the latest reports. Like I said, we've got a breakdown on the Ada versus non-Ada on the GPUs, so you'll want to check that out.
It's pretty cool. It's 85F across the top of that heatsink.
That's flat out chilly.
Yeah. Our room is 78 degrees right now. Oh my god, I hate powering this thing down. It takes so long to get the thing to power back up.
So it's not really doing much yet. The lines are starting to get a little bit lime green, but that's still a pretty sweet look into...
Yes, the DRAM is warmer than the CPU socket.
Well, that's why... So I posted some photos on Instagram. If you haven't seen those of the H100 Lenovo Neptune server, check out the gram for that. It's all copper, but they liquid cool literally every component in those systems. There's not a fan in them. So it's pretty damn sweet. And then in about a week and a half, we'll be out at Supercompute in Denver, and that show's going to be jam full of liquid cooling, all sorts of stuff. So we'll bring you hopefully a metric ton. I don't know why that gives it more gravitas. A metric ton of cooling content. So stay tuned for all of that.
Okay, so I went into the BIOS and changed the option to make sure it runs all the fans at full speed for anything off the motherboard, which I don't want the fan, or I don't want, it thinks it's the fan, but I don't want the CPU pump to be running at like 30% speed. It needs to be going full speed all the time.
Is there, so where would you manage the pump stuff?
You don't.
Why would it ever slow down?
So the default header for the CPU, for example, it thinks it's a fan. So low speed or low temp, it's going to throttle down. Higher temp, it's going to throttle up.
Yeah.
So when you plug a pump into one of those, and this applies to consumer platforms as well, you can change the PWM pulse width modulation speed for any of those devices. You want those things to be ramped to 100% for those types of motors.
So you were in the BIOS. I wasn't paying any attention, but did you edit that already?
Yeah. Sadly, that also means that those things are going to be going up, but I'll try and figure out some adjustments there.
The fans are blowing enough that the small YouTube tripod is blowing in the wind.
Yeah. Here, well, I'm going to go back in there and
Yes, unfortunately, the contest is U.S. only, and 3 states have made it impossible to give away nice things there. So,
it's got some good air movement.
no Florida, no Rhode Island, and no New York.
I dropped it down to 50%, so we'll see how that does. If the thing can keep up, yeah. So it dropped to 83 degrees Fahrenheit, 5-degree difference from our room. What's strange? Each time we unplug the system, the thing says default settings. So I think the CMOS battery might be dead. So this has a 96-core Geno X CPU and 512 gig of memory. Excellent. 50% fans, a little bit better. We are not sysadmins, we only pose as sysadmins. Sysadmins know what they're doing. We don't. It's an AMD EPYC 9684X. Okay, so we got back up to Windows. I'm just going to position these cameras back up to where the temperature readout's going to be. If you break into the lab, the password is definitely not password 123. So weird that every single time the system boots up, all the damn Steam updates and shit on a server.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whatever we did was not enjoyed by. Actually, I wonder if Jordan was doing something weird with that, because we had the VGA side disabled. So hopefully this is better. Still need to check out the fan speed, or now it's the pump speed.
It's early, but it does, as it sits right now, it's about 30 degrees Celsius less than it was before.
It's peaking up though.
Yeah, it should.
Next stage on this is, it was not my thermal paste application.
No one's going to complain about it because it was a professional application of thermal paste. Yours are bullshit applications of thermal paste. What are you seeing on the temps there?
About what we saw before. I might have to ramp up the, it'll make it a little bit louder, but I might have to get the pump up to its full speed.
But we're at easy 20 Celsius less.
No. We went up to 89C.
That's on that, but if you look at the individual,
Well, that's
chiplets.
worst case. The part that I want to watch on the next round is,
the individual chiplets look better.
yeah,
Well, that's what I'm looking at. What are you looking at?
that peak temperature.
Yeah, I don't.
What I'm going to do is I want to watch what the base speed or what the clock speed is along with temp. So
Why don't you run a longer?
what's funny is this chip is so fast, like it turns like it's not that many years off that world records were at the level we're doing to make it a little bit longer for the system.
How far did you guys get on the StarTech?
Not very far at all. So one of the downsides, the wiring's easy. The cable management arms, or the cable management stuff, it's more rack generic, and they just do not fit our racks well.
We still need to. I mean, it's okay if we focus on this. The other stuff they threw in there were just kind of like bonus.
Yeah, I was putting Dylan on the HP server review to get that one up first, and then
HP server review.
or the HP desktop.
Oh, the new Threadripper.
Yeah. So the part that Jordan's most worried about is when this thing's running, and this is the reason why you'd want a higher or a better heatsink, is what 100% CPU utilization. Here, let's see. I don't know. We're currently at idle, or we're not at a higher rate yet, but when the CPU usage starts to peak up, Right now, with very little CPU, we're at the burst range for this guy, which is right below 3.7 gigahertz. If the temperature gets too high, it drops out of burst, drops back down to its baseline, and its CPU performance left on the table. So let's see. We're ramping up now. 3.2, 2.8. So,
James, I took Mavis Beacon teaches typing in 9th grade high school. That hits a little too hard to home for me, buddy. The thermal cam has it at still blue.
well, I mean, it's cooler than other things around it, which is the advantage of liquid cooling.
Yeah, 90 Fahrenheit.
It's the coolest thing in here. The RAM is like 126. This guy's at 90 or so. And then you can see the bottom half of the radiator where the liquid comes in. It's 100, and then we'll auto off. But the top, you can kind of see the split between hot side, cold side.
The RGB JBOF is the serial cables Gen 5 flash chassis we use from time to time for the
They can
SSD
see
reviews. Someone could see it before.
Oh, okay.
So when do we declare victory? It's cooler. The chiplets are cooler. Time to move on.
Well, victory we've been having before and after performance numbers for across the board. That's what we're going to have to do. And then the main victory will be we plotted the temperature versus performance with the hardware info utility. We'll need to watch temperature versus clock speed again.
All right, so that'll be the ultimate plan. We took this guy out. This was the factory heatsink for the CPU from Tyan, and this was really designed for the generation before Bergamo and Genoa X. This guy was. This TDP was rated to what?
I think like 150.
No, not 150.
That's why it was being punished so hard. Look at the size of it.
It's not big, okay? And when we put that 96 core Genoa X in there, it kind of reached physical thermal dissipation limits with this, and we saw a little bit of throttling. So what we've done is gone to this Dynacore closed loop in the system. Kevin installed that. We took the fans.
What company?
Dynacore? Dynatron. Obviously, they're not paying us to plug their shit. I would learn the name. Dynatron sent us this closed loop with a radiator, which, I mean, just in our anecdotal early testing has shown really great results. About 20C less per chiplet. It's got better contact with the entirety of the CPU. And then the way these closed loops work is they distribute the fluid nice and even across the whole plate, which means every chiplet's getting really nicely cooled. And
I thought you were going to say nice and evenly across the entire motherboard as a tube burst.
Hopefully we don't do that. No tubers, no tube bursting. And if we mount this radiator a little better in here with some gaffer's tape, we should be good to go.
It's pretty nice the way it is.
Kind of wedged in.
Yeah. I mean, we can't really stand the system upright for a while. But
and we may not want to ship it with it just dangling loose, but
Yeah.
otherwise it seems to be working. So all we were intending to do today was get to that point. And what we'll do with this system, if you check out the review on storagereview.com of the Ultimate Workstation 96 core Genoa processor, we're going to run that set of benchmarking all over again with this Dynatron closed liquid loop. We'll see how much better. I mean, maybe performance is the same. I don't know. I don't want to prejudge it, but if we can get a little better performance because the CPU never downclocks to throttle itself, then we'll have some interesting data there. So that will be our mission with this particular build for the next, I don't know, week or two, however long it takes to get it done. So expect to see a review of the Dynatron liquid loop. We took its fans off. We're just using system fans. Like I said, we'll find some tape or maybe invest in a zip tie.
My plan, like the way I'm seeing right now, is I'm going to tap between these two fan spots,
Yeah.
put some screw holes in it, and just mount it rigidly in there.
Yeah.
I have tools, I can do it. Oh, I could weld it.
Anyone with epoxy and a Sawzall can get the job done.
Oh, I need to wheel my MIG welder in here. Like, it'd be horrific welding the aluminum and steel together. Like, it's just going to burn to shit. But
Throw the thermal cam on there real quick again, too, so they can see it.
let me power it back on. I need to turn off that, like, 2-minute auto shut off that it has right now. It feels cool. That's precise.
All right.
Yeah, so out of all the things in here right now, the heatsink for the CPU is the coolest part. So yes, that's what liquid cooling does. It takes the heat away, it makes some other ones problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was the plan for the live today, was to do this heatsink upgrade. We've got that done. We'll post probably a social video on this so you can check it out if you didn't see the whole process, talk through it a little bit more. And remember, the contest for these two T560s completes in 4 days. So if you're not in the Discord yet, get in there, discord.gg/storage review. 2 systems, 15 grand each. Your odds of winning are really pretty darn good if you get in there and get in on that contest. And if you feel so compelled, the Storage View merch store is live. We've got these little sloth guys, so you can support our work with the Storage Review sloths at store.storagereview.com. That's our live for today. We're going to get out of here and get back to work, but thanks for tuning in.